Today, we are diving deep into a really radical idea, a total shift in how we approach life's biggest challenges. We're going to journey from the world of cold, hard logic to the incredible creative power of feeling. And to kick things off, let's put that logical mind of yours to the test.
All right, let's fire up that analytical brain. Imagine this. You're driving a runaway trolley. The brakes are completely shot. And up ahead on the tracks, you see 5 workers. You know with absolute certainty if you do nothing, they will all die.
But then you see a fork in the track. On that side track, there's just 1 worker. You can grab the lever, steer the trolley, and save 5 people. But you'd be actively choosing to sacrifice 1. What do? Most people, when asked, say yeah, they'd pull the switch. Okay, scenario 2. Now you're not the driver. You're just a spectator standing on a bridge overlooking the tracks. This time, the only way to save those 5 workers is to push a very large man standing next to you off the bridge and onto the tracks. His size would stop the trolley. The outcome? It's identical. 1 person dies, 5 people live. But here, almost everyone says, no, absolutely not.
So, what just happened there? The math is the same, 1 for 5. But our gut, our moral intuition just screams that these 2 things are completely different. Why? Why does our neat and tidy logic just completely fall apart when things get personal? That's the puzzle we're starting with today. You see, that conflict you just felt? It points to a huge crack in the way we think. So for our first section, let's dig into the big ideas, the philosophical rules that try, and, often fail, to solve these impossible puzzles of the mind.
And it turns out there are basically 2 major schools of thought that explain our trolley dilemma perfectly. When we pull that switch, we're being consequentialists. We're thinking, hey, saving 5 lives is a better outcome than saving 1. Simple math. But the moment we have to physically push someone, we instantly jump to categorical reasoning. It just feels wrong. Murder is wrong, period. The consequences don't matter.
But look, this isn't just some fun classroom game. These exact dilemmas play out in the real world, with the highest stakes imaginable. Let me tell you a true story from back in 1884.
4 sailors are shipwrecked. They're in a tiny lifeboat, middle of the ocean, with almost no food, no water. 19 days go by. Desperate, 3 of the sailors make an absolutely horrific choice. They decide to kill and eat the 4th crew member, a young, orphaned cabin boy named Richard Parker. Their defense in court? Pure consequentialism. It was a tragic, terrible necessity. 1 person, who was already sick and had no family, had to die so that 3 men with families could live.
But the prosecution's argument was devastatingly simple. It was categorical. They didn't care about the desperate circumstances. They didn't care about the outcome. A murder is a murder, full stop. So I ask you, who was right?
See, we can argue about this all day. We can weigh the consequences against the categorical duties. We can debate and analyze until we're blue in the face. But what we find is that logic on its own often leads us right into a brick wall, an impossible dead end. So what if we've been asking the wrong question this whole time?
And this is where our whole journey pivots. What if the answer isn't found in a more complex logical formula, but in a completely different part of ourselves? This quote suggests that real morality isn't a problem to be solved by the mind, but an inner state to be felt by the heart. It's about shifting from an external sense of duty to a deep internal knowing.
And that brings us right to our second section, and to a completely radical paradigm. A way of seeing the world where your inner state doesn't just react to what's happening outside, it actually causes it. This is a principle called the law of assumption. And the idea is pretty mind-bending. It says that whatever you assume to be true, whatever you feel deep down in your bones is true. If you persist in that feeling, it has no choice but to become your reality. You're not just a reporter describing your world. You are its author. Your feeling state is the creative pen. Just think about it for a second. Nobody really wants $1 million. What they want is the feeling they think the money will give them. The feeling of security, of freedom, of ease. We chase all these external things, money, relationships, success, not for the things themselves, but for the internal state we believe they unlock.
So the real question is, what if you can just generate the feeling first?
So if that's true, if our feeling state really creates our reality, the next logical question is, how? How do we actually do that? Well, that's what our third section is all about, the practical steps to consciously speaking your world into being.
What this all means is that your imagination, it's not some frivolous thing for daydreaming, it is the actual workshop where your future is being built right now. Every single assumption you hold, every feeling you allow yourself to marinate in, that is literally the blueprint for what is coming.
And it really breaks down into 3 steps. First, you have to get crystal clear on your ideal. What is it you truly want to experience? Step 2, and listen, this is the absolute secret to the whole thing. You have to assume the feeling of the wish already fulfilled, not the feeling of wanting it or hoping for it, the feeling of having it right now. And finally, step 3, you persist in that new state. You walk, talk, and act from that feeling, no matter what your current reality looks like.
You have to start paying very, very close attention to the words that come after I am. Because every time you say, I am tired, or I am broke, or I am lonely, you are making a powerful, divine statement. You're giving your reality its marching orders. The same is true when you say, I am successful, I am loved, I am abundant.
So, how do we tie these 2 worlds together? The world of logic and planning and this new world of feeling and creation. Our final section uses a really powerful metaphor to make it all click. I want you to picture a man standing on the bank of a river. And on the other side is everything he's ever wanted, his dream life. But instead of even trying to cross, he thinks, I need a safe way. I need a bridge. So he starts walking along the riverbank, looking for one. 10 years go by. He's an expert on the riverbank now. He knows every rock, every tree, and he's convinced that perfect, risk-free bridge is just around the next bend. 40 years pass, he's old and gray, and he's still searching.
And after all that time, he finally realizes the devastating truth. There is no bridge. There never was one.
The only way he was ever going to get to the other side was to jump in the water and swim, to get wet, to face the uncertainty of the current.
This story just nails the 2 approaches we've been talking about. Searching for the bridge. That's the path of pure logic. It's waiting for the outside world to give you permission. It's demanding a perfect, guaranteed plan before you'll even start. But swimming is the new way. It's choosing your internal feeling state first. It's embracing the feeling of already being on the other side. And it's having the guts to become the person you want to be right now, before you have any proof that it's safe.
So, I'll leave you with this one final thought. What bridge have you been searching for in your own life? What perfect plan have you been waiting for? And what do you think would happen if you just found the courage to swim?